This episode dives into the much needed Ren/Nora backstory. It's something I've been wanting to see since the start of Season 4, and after much waiting, we finally got this episode. That backstory we wanted. So, we all knew something very tragic happened to Ren and Nora in the past. We know they're connected. We know their town was destroyed by the Grimm. We were fully aware of this. But finally, we get the actual crucial details. What Grimm did it, what it looked like, and what Ren and Nora lost, and kind of their upbringing as well. So Ren, his start, like the start of the flashback, he seems to be overall having a relatively peaceful and happy childhood. He seems to, be a standard child, having, a good time. He's learning the ways of the world and all that. And, he tries to get a gift for his father coming home. And as he's trying to get a gift for his father, eventually he discovers upon a girl getting bullied. And insert the standard bullies in this episode. For instance, the normal bullies that like to pick on the character or whatever, or any type of character. That's what we get in this episode. But that's not the main point. We get the introduction of Nora and where she came from, alongside of how Ren first met her. Nora seems to not have any family. She didn't have any parents or anything from what we can see, and she's an orphan. She's someone that's by herself, and you see how she was trying to live off of, food in the garbage or whatever. She was just doing anything she could to survive, and you had these kids bullying her because she was different or she looked weird or whatever. They were just making fun of her, which is very fucked up. And I'm glad that she's no longer living that lifestyle anymore. I'm glad she now has happiness with Ren. She's traveling with him, and everything seems to be relatively a hell of a lot better than it was for her in the past. So I am glad that, everything is better for her now. But the upbringing of her makes me very sad, and I want to know more about that. I want to actually know what led Nora to be in that position at the beginning stages of her life. I want the more crucial details of it. I want to see exactly what happened with maybe some flashbacks in the future. Maybe not this season of RWBY, but hopefully one day, Rooster Teeth decides to go into it and dive more into Nora's, upbringing, where she actually came from completely, in the future. Maybe next season, maybe a couple seasons from now. I'd like to see it. I highly doubt it'll be this season, but it's something I would definitely like to see, especially after what we saw in this episode. But getting back on topic, though, let's talk about the Grimm Attack. So, Ren has his mother say, we need to go and all that, and his mother dies before his eyes. Dies mid-sentence. Very fucked up way to go. I mean, that was a really fucked up way to die. You're trying to talk to your son, all of a sudden you get smashed and crushed by a Grimm. That's fucked. That's pretty damn fucked. So, yeah. I mean, seeing what happened to Ren's mother, but then on top of that, when he woke up and his father was running with him and just trying to get away, that really indicated what happened. For instance, the mother did die, the father's injured. You can see how he had blood on him, and he was very injured, and he had to leave his wife's body behind to get his son out of there. And eventually he can no longer run anymore because he was that injured, which caused it to where he had to tell Ren to run. He needs to leave, he needs to run, and his parents love him. And so Ren lost his parents right then and there. And so the backstory is exactly kind of what we expected. It was a very tragic backstory. It was something we expected. He lost his parents, he lost everything, he lost his town, and we know Nora, she kind of lost everything too. Even though she didn't have the best life at the time, she still lost everything. I mean, she lost her town as well, but at the very least, she's a little bit happier now being with Ren instead of by herself, having to, live off the streets and shit. So at the very least, she's living kind of a better life than she did. But still, the point is that this Grimm that attacked definitely has to be one of the creepiest Grimm to date. The actual figure, the horse-looking Grimm, very creepy. I love the design of it, and I love the eyes that Rooster Teeth added, especially when you saw the eyes starting to shine, and you saw it in the background of, a certain, part of the episode. I love the details on that, seeing the way the eyes shined along with the horse, and when you saw the way Ren looked at it, and he was very scared and all that, and then eventually his father had to stand up and fight it. And I noticed Rooster Teeth made sure that we couldn't get a clear picture of this creature. We saw the shadow of it, but we didn't really get to see the entirety of how its features look. We got to see, for the most part, its legs and, you know, just maybe its exterior outer appearance. We just didn't get to see, like, the actual details on its body, and so I can't wait to see the reveal maybe next week in next week's episode, because we do know that that same exact creature is going to where Ruby and John is right now, because of the way Ren and Nora discovered that big-ass, you know, battle, you know, scene, and then they realized that this creature is back, and it's walking through the forest exactly where Kuroyuki once was. So, yeah. Definitely a good build-up episode. Definitely a good episode to add some much-needed information to Ren and Nora's, you know, backstory. Been waiting for that constantly, and I'm just glad to see Rooster Teeth finally dived into it. Now, before I go any further, though, can I just say that Ren's father looks exactly like Hanzo from Overwatch? Like, am I the only one that noticed that? Like, his father looked exactly like fucking Hanzo. I mean, I do know Rooster Teeth, they're a gaming company. I mean, they make a lot of shows and stuff, but we do know they also, you know, play a hell of a lot of games, and so we do know they are very aware of Overwatch. I just wonder if they made Ren's father look like Hanzo on purpose. I mean, we may never know. It just depends if Rooster Teeth decides to clarify. Regardless, let's talk about the John and Ruby scene. So the John and Ruby scene, very important scene, but at the same time, I'm a little bit disappointed with the way it was executed. John, very good leader. Good man John, being a good leader, trying to talk to Ruby. He was a very good man for that, and I respect John's character for going out of his way to talk to Ruby. However, I did not like to see Ruby accept that nothing was wrong. Not everything is her fault. And I was very upset with the way that scene was handled, because I thought that scene was the first time we were going to actually get to see some really good development for Ruby in Season 4. She was actually realizing she made a lot of mistakes. She was even starting to say she made a lot of mistakes, how she shouldn't have brought them along and all that. She realized that the reason why they're in this situation is thanks to her, and she was blaming herself. And John, what he said, it was something you should have said. I mean, he was the leader. He was a good leader. But damn it, John, of all the times you could be a good leader and choose to be a good leader, you would do it at the time when Ruby needs to accept that she did a lot of things that were wrong. She made a lot of mistakes. And you stating, like, not everything is your fault kind of undermines all of that development for Ruby. And when you see Ruby just accepting this and it's like, yeah, it's not all my fault and all that, you see, like, she accepts it. I'm like, shit! This is like reverting that development that was possible in this scene. So, to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of that scene. I mean, I'm a fan of the John stuff, how he actually was being a good leader, he was giving advice to Ruby, he was acting like a very good man, he said what you should have said. However, of all times, John, to be a good leader, you would say it right then and fucking there when Ruby is actually developing as a character. I'm like, oh. But anyways, hopefully Ruby comes back to this moment and she might rethink about everything and she might accept that whatever she's done was a mistake and she might try to, you know, better herself as a person. Hopefully Rooster Teeth revisits this and it's not the last time we see Ruby feeling guilty about everything that's happened in Season 4 thus far. Hopefully she does come back to this maybe next week or the week after that. We'll see if she does. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you all feel about this week's episode of RWBY Season 4? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. And I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.